What's going on, Transformers? This is Bilal Husain here alongside Mavericks Hussain, and today we are on episode number 3 of the Transformation Show. Last week on episode 2, we discussed the 5 steps to achieving dreams, and lately I've been seeing a lot of comments and feedback from you guys about how you guys enjoyed that episode, and even the first episode, our pilot one. But I would like to know more about this feedback as well. And if you can, during this, after you're done watching our video, please comment down below what topics you would like to discuss with us and how we can grow ourselves to be better. So over the weekend, I was reading an article called how Blockbuster could have bought Netflix for $50 million, but the CEO thought it was a complete joke. So I was reading this article and I was speaking to my father about this, and I wanted to know what his perspective is on how this fits into today's environment. So, Dad, let it go.
Let it go. Okay, Transformers and Bilal, thank you very much. So today's episode is all about learning more about disruption and how do you survive in disruption.
Sure.
Okay, so episode number 3 is about the profit walk, and this is what I want to explain you about the profit, how people are making money, where are the margins, and what is the walk to achieving this innovation potential, what Netflix achieved, and what Blockbuster did not do. Okay.
So the question I want to ask is, what is innovation potential?
I'm going to explain you this.
Sure.
If you come here, if you take a look at this, so if you take a look at here, this is, I have these 4 bars here, okay? Number 1, and this is the profit margin. So these bars represent profit margins, okay, of companies. So when a company normally is when they set up a target or the budget, this is what the point that I want to start with our discussion. So normally, based upon the shareholder needs, company needs, fixed cost and everything, every company set up a budget, okay? And this is the margin which is they set up here, which is called the budget margin, okay? This is what the company is trying to make. Now, in this environment, which is very competitive, this environment is a lot of competition, okay, and low margin environment. So most of the companies and a lot of the companies are struggling right now. They're not meeting their budget. So this is where they are. So their margin is even less than their budget, okay? So this is the point I want you to understand is the companies are not meeting their budget. They're not making the margin that they're forecasting, okay? This is the actual margin that they're making, which is here, right here in the red. And I call this a red ocean, okay? This is what most of the companies are operating in, a red ocean. And this is what the commodity business is all about, red ocean here. Now, some companies, even though this is the budget, but some companies in the industry are doing better, okay? And this is what I call industry best, okay? So if you take a look at this from the budget, some companies are doing better in this green bar.
Yeah.
This is the industry best. This is where some of the best players in the industry are operating. And then to the far right, some companies, okay, are just blowing these margins all the way to the top here.
Yeah.
And this is what I call innovation potential. Okay. So these are the 4 bars. Now let's take a look here. Okay. So let me get rid of this here. Come back here. This gap here between this number and this number is, I call it efficiency gap.
So what is an efficiency gap?
But let's take a look at the a few other scenarios. Then I'll come back to this efficiency gap. So this is the gap, which is the budget and the actual is called the efficiency gap. Now, from the budget to this industry best, this is what I called, this number here is I called competitiveness gap. Okay? So this is the gap where some of the companies in your industry are outperforming, and this is why you have this competitiveness gap which you need to get. Okay? And then the third thing that I like to bring your attention is right here, this number here. Okay, and this is what I called innovation potential, or also called the blue ocean. Okay, and this is where the innovation is coming from, the blue ocean. So this is the big picture right now, and this is how the companies are operating. So again, let's recap here. Budget. This is the forecast. This is where the company promised their shareholders, I would say stakeholders, because stakeholders involve everybody, employers, and everything. This is what the company is forecasting, promising. Some of the companies are bringing this margin. Okay, they're operating at this margin, which is the actual, and the gap between the budget and the actual is the efficiency gap. Then between some of the companies are, as a matter of fact, are doing better in the industry. And this is where I would call the competitiveness gap. But some of the companies are like outperforming, and this is what I called the innovation potential. So these are the four scenarios. So now let me, now you can ask me more about this, and then I can explain.
Yeah, so I was just having some difficulty understanding the efficiency gap and the competitiveness gap. So if you can explain more on what these are and how these people can be more competitive, the people watching us, how they can be more competitive in the market to be able to have this profit walk.
Okay, so the first thing is, when you're starting your journey of transformation as a company, first you need to fill this gap, the first one. Okay, so this is what I called number one. This is, you need to get this number here, right here, and you need to fill this gap. Okay, so you need to move from this way. Okay, and this is what the efficiency gap. So the efficiency gap is all about the company is not working efficiently as promised by their processes. The processes are designed in a certain way in a company, and the company is not even efficient to those processes. There's waste, there are issues in the company, there's non-value added activities in the company, and all of those things are causing your margin to come from this point to this point. So as you start the journey, the first thing is we need to understand that what are those non-value added activities, what are those losses, and then we need to go after those first. Because first thing as a company we need to do is we need to bring our profitability to this budget, the promised number. Okay, so this is the first thing that we need to do. Once we accomplish this, and in the later episodes, I will explain to you how you can design a program to transform yourself.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, there's a program that we can talk about, and I'll explain you this.
Sure.
Then this number here, which is the competitiveness gap, is some of the companies are outperforming. Some of the companies are working better than you. Those are the benchmark companies. Okay, so in the same industry, there are many companies. Some companies are outperforming. So you need to understand that what are some of the things those companies are doing, what are some of the KPIs that they have. So we need to almost do a benchmark and define this gap, which is called the competitiveness gap. And when we define this gap, then we need to move from from here to here, which is the second step. Okay.
Sure.
And in here we can also talk about growth strategies. We can also talk about improving efficiencies even more, or penetrating into outside of industry as well. Okay. So this is where this gap is. Now, the third one, which is called the innovation potential, and this is what you saw.
This is what Netflix is doing nowadays.
This is what Netflix did.
Yeah.
Okay, some years ago, they brought an innovation. They brought something to the market which was not available. Now, I'm going to talk to you about innovation in more details in some other episodes. But if you read the story of Netflix, when they were talking to Blockbuster, Netflix was not doing that great. Okay? Netflix was struggling at that time.
Yeah.
And this is very typical of a company who's innovating at that time. And those companies at that time are not performing real well.
Yeah.
And this is why when they went to Blockbuster, they put an offer in front of Blockbuster. They said, okay, Blockbuster, this is what we can do. Okay? We help you on the online business, and then you continue to manage the brick and mortar stores. Okay?
Yeah.
This is one of the options they did. The other option they put on the table was, hey, you buy us. Okay? Let's do a merger. But unfortunately, Blockbuster did not acted on that. And this is not just one company. Blockbuster is not.
There's many different companies out there.
And we were discussing earlier about Nokia. They were discussing earlier about RIM BlackBerry.
Yeah.
And they're completely blown away by Apple, Android, Samsung, and all these companies. And so I'm going to talk to you in more detail about those scenarios. But for today's episode, I think let's stop here. And I'm gonna put 3 here. So the journey is from here, from the actual to achieving budget, okay, and filling this efficiency gap.
Yeah.
From when you achieve budget, go from budget to competitiveness or the best in the industry. So so you need to fill up your competitiveness gap, go from 1 to 2. And then finally, you can go to this innovation potential from 2 to 3, blue ocean. So you need to move from red to this blue. Now, some of these things are not sequential. They can be parallel. And those are the things that the company, as a company, you need to put a strategy. And in this strategy, you need to put, in your strategy, you need to have margin improvement, revenue growth, and innovation. Those 3 things. So we'll talk some more about this next time. But I appreciate Bilal for maybe having this session.
Transformers, there you go. Everyone wants to be at the blue ocean. So make sure to tune in next time on episode 4 to see how we can get to that position. Thank you.